Hello and welcome to a very special episode of WNK, the Weekly AEW News Kick. I'm your host Tom and I'm joined by my co-host Patrick. Hello Patrick.
Guten Tag.
And WNK's sound engineer and resident ginger, Jack Griffin. How's it going?
Hello.
Why is this a special episode, I hear you ask? Well, this is the second episode of WNK we're recording. It's actually not a regular recap and review show. Today, we will be doling out some awards in our Best of 2020 show as we find out who this three-strong crew here at WNK has deemed the best AEW talent of the year in their respective categories. Are you guys excited?
Super excited.
I know I am.
No, really excited to talk about a really good year from AEW. They had some ups and downs like everywhere. But I think like all in all, and yeah, like Tony Khan managed it really well for being his second year, then having a pandemic, having also an unfortunate passing of a superstar in there.
I think in terms of how promotions have dealt with the pandemic, AEW have at least come second to New Japan, if not one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And New Japan has the advantage of being in Japan with people who comply with the rules way better than...
We talked a little bit about that on our first episode, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Should we dive right into it then? Because I would say, do you want to talk about like your favourite moments? But I'm sure we'll get into that as we go along, and if not, we can tack it on to the end. So shall we go straight in?
Let's go.
Okay. The first envelope I have in front of me, yes, I have envelopes. We don't cut corners here at WNK. The first one I have is Worst Wrestler of the Year, but it feels a bit negative to start off with that one, so I'm going to put that for second. First award for Gimmick of the Year. You hear that? You hear the envelope opening?
Yeah, I've got my nominations on here. I know you asked for three, so I've got my three on my phone so I can see if any of mine actually won.
I did. I'd say give me a drum roll, but maybe we can add that in post.
I'll edit that in, yeah, that's fine.
And the winner is... This is where you put the drum roll, Jack. Abaddon. Not many surprises there. What do you guys make of Abaddon's gimmick?
Actually, I'm surprised.
You are surprised.
Not a surprise because she deserves to win, but from the ones that I've put down, like I put Dark Order down, and I thought that was a very strong one. And when I compare, but no, very worthy winner.
We do have some runners up here if you guys would like to hear the runners up.
Well, actually, let's quickly talk about Abaddon because, I mean, I think we deserve to. What a
Jack commandeering the podcast here. I'll turn hosting duties over to you.
No, just really, really strong gimmick. One that everyone.
I'll do sound engineering now. We're in trouble.
just a strong gimmick. One everyone got on board with. One that at first sight people could have been easily like turned off by and just like cast her out, but now she's worked her way up the ranking.
I think that's the point. I think that's why the gimmick's so good, because she's generally repulsive to look at, and I mean that in the nicest way. Do you know, I don't think I've ever felt as genuinely unsettled visibly by a gimmick ever, and I'm a 30-year-old man, and you know there were definitely some scary gimmicks when I was a child where it would have been more likely to affect me, but like now I'm like, oh my god, like it's she's terrifying. What do you think, Patrick?
She goes a little bit in the direction of Kane, Undertaker, or even the Boogeyman, I'd say, in this direction, but a little more, I don't know, like with a real horror touch in it. I like that she won. Like she's number 2 on my list. Orange Cassidy would be number 1, but I put her up for number 2 because she's great.
Well, we should go into the runners-up then, because you'll hear that one. Number 3, we have Orange Cassidy. In third place. I think if it was 2019. I think if it was 2019, Orange Cassidy would be the runaway winner. Absolutely. He would have been mine, casting my mind back to 2019, the gimmick of the year, hands down. I mean, The Fiend would probably be up there. Speaking of unsettling gimmicks, I think he debuted in 2019, did he? Bray Wyatt's Fiend gimmick. That sounds about right. So he'd probably be second, but Orange Cassidy would have been first for me, because I mean that was when he was just so over with that gimmick, showing up at Double or Nothing. Yeah, number 2, and I think this is for his presidential gimmick, is MJF. Which, definitely.
I can see that also.
Hilarious.
I loved that.
Great.
I put him, I think, as second on my nominations, and the reason I put him down was purely for that presidential gimmick. I thought it was genius. I liked the way they'd done it. It was usual sort of way of building up a match, but it was clever. I liked the sort of extras they had, the kind of side crew to MJF's presidential team.
Yeah, they had their own characters with Lee. And,
that was. Oh, it was Lee.
It was Lee. We quoted that for ages.
And stuff like that just added to it, and it was really suited to MJF really well, I thought.
What was the name of the girl he kept telling to smile? I forgot.
I can't remember. I don't know.
I'm hearing it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Yelling
Wait, I'll
at
see
her.
if I can Google it. MJF.
But she was later, after she got fired, so she was in the audience for
I remember
Dynamite
seeing her
show.
there.
Like once or twice
That
I
made me
saw her.
wonder whether. That made me wonder whether she was a wrestler or not, but I haven't really seen her since.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
like, why would
Maybe-
they be keep? I was wondering why they keep her on a retainer if she was not a wrestler. Do you know what I mean? Nina. There we go.
But who is she? Did you also find that out?
No. I'm on Squared Circle, and to be fair, the article's just some guy beating it down, the whole gimmick. But they're talking about some
Sounds
of the
about right for Reddit.
Yeah. But the storyline, they mentioned two of them. Obviously, Lee was the one we just mentioned. Lee Johnson, that is, actually wrestled on Dark.
Yeah, of
quite a
course.
lot. So that was
together there.
Yeah, and it just says Nina. It doesn't say anything about a surname. And I can't imagine. I've not heard her on Dark or anything. So I think it was just casting just for the role, sort of thing.
The mysterious Nina, if she's listening, hit us up. Yeah,
So
I
I've
think
also got a third guy left, but I don't want to talk about him now because he will, I think, pop up later also.
I'm sure he will.
Somewhere.
I'm sure he
Yeah.
will. If you picked him for something, he'll probably show up.
Yeah,
because
I
you
definitely
have a keen wrestling mind. Yeah, I feel like we've talked about MJF a bit too much there and neglected Abaddon. Abaddon, yeah, great gimmick. Regardless of the match on this week's Dynamite, which I had a lot to say about. So our next award,
And a lot of dedication for a gimmick. That's also very important when you see that.
very
She
true.
puts a lot of effort into building that character.
So our next award is the one I was going to go with first, but we will go with it second. Worst Wrestler of the Year. This is an exciting one because this is our only negative award. We like to keep it positive here on WNK, but we had to have this one in because the Golden Raspberry Award, if you will. So let's get it open. Had a bit of trouble there. And the winner is... Japanese deathmatch legend Luther.
Yes.
Could
love
it
that.
be anybody else? I mean,
Oh,
just
no.
coming off the back of last week where he botched walking across the ring, I can't even with this guy. What do you guys make of that result? Fair?
Did any of you guys ever see him wrestle like in his prime? In quotation marks, please.
Oh yeah, I can't say I have.
No, me neither. So I don't know how he was in the past, or how he's been doing in the ring, but he is in ring. From his in-ring style, he's nothing. There's nothing he can add to it. Like
There's
even
nothing
like the
redeemable
building.
about it.
No, nothing. Like Serpentico is with him in a team now. You're like, maybe he can help him get him over or so. But I don't know. I didn't get him.
It shouldn't be on the
Really?
younger talent to be getting over a guy like Luther, to be honest. Chris Jericho wanted him as the leader of the Dark Order. Talks about it on his
Did he?
podcast. Yeah, that was his pitch to Tony Khan, and thank God he listened. Didn't
Cool.
listen, sorry.
That's good.
Yeah,
But,
no, I mean, sorry, go on, Jack.
Oh no, I was just about to say, Luther is someone we got to leave back in 2020. Like Patrick offers nothing. Brand don't even cut a good promo. I've not heard him, and his gimmick's not even good. It's weird. It's one of those when he comes in the ring,
Points
and he
at his temple. Yeah,
And
sticks his tongue out.
It's just weird, and he botches even walking across a ring, and I think even I could do that better than him. So like it's just let's leave it in 2020.
And he was deathmatch wrestler. Now he's not doing that now. So deathmatch wrestling doesn't have to do much with professional wrestling, like
But I
really
enjoy
in-ring
deathmatch.
skills. So yeah, it depends really. But if you have a deathmatch wrestler, like for example, Joey Janela made a really good transition from a deathmatch wrestler to a real wrestler who can perform in the ring instead of just.
I think that's what
Killing his body.
we, as Excalibur always reminds us, he is a legend apparently. But I suppose I wouldn't consider him a legend. I'm probably showing my ignorance here because I haven't heard of him, and he's, apparently a legend in Japanese deathmatch wrestling. But when I think of deathmatch legends, I think of guys like Joey Janela, I think of guys like Nick Gage, and these guys can actually wrestle as well. Do you know what I mean? So, Jimmy Lloyd's coming up now, but to be honest, I haven't seen him wrestle in enough matches that weren't death matches to say. But it definitely does. I mean, of course, helps to be able to wrestle, but as you say, it's not, being a good wrestler isn't a necessity to. I mean, Sandman wasn't the best wrestler, was he? But he
no, but he had a good gimmick. That's it.
Not to begin with, when he had his surfer gimmick, because that's what he.
Yeah,
He kept the name. That's what I always liked about him. He kept the name.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we got some runners up for you. In at number 3, Nyla Rose, and in at number 2, Brandy Rhodes.
I'm not surprised about Brandy. I did actually put her down as nomination because she's not wrestled that much, but I get it as well because she did that tournament with Ali, didn't she? Where do we even start? Nyla Rose, firstly. I just personally don't like her. I know I put her down second on my nomination, actually above QT Marshall, which is just a personal thing. But yeah, that was my third. But yeah, Nyla Rose, I just don't see her as a good wrestler, especially when me and Tom watched. Was it actually, no, it was Full Gear when we all watched her match with Shida.
She was showing a lot of ring rust. I mean, in that match, she had the same problem that I had with Luther in the tag match with Chris Jericho on the Chris Jericho anniversary show, in that they both looked like they were moving in slow motion.
It just didn't look good, did it? And I don't really like the whole teaming up with Vicky Guerrero either. Again, that's just personal. I could see people who could be on board with it, but it just doesn't seem to work for me. And then with Brandy, where do you even start with Brandy? Countless bad ideas she's had on part of the company. Nightmare Collective has got to be the number one, which actually Luther was going to be a part of. So that's a bad gimmick. What other Brandy Rhodes bad gimmick? Someone try and...
I'm not gonna. I'd have to be very as a white male talking about when she changed her speech patterns, if you will. I'm gonna tiptoe around talking about that because that is a minefield waiting to happen. But it's just odd. It's just odd when she'll like change up because things like that aren't exactly a gimmick. Do you know what I mean? It's just changing herself and her in-ring presentation, or out-of-ring presentation. Sorry.
Yeah. Although even though we nominated her or given her second worst wrestler of AEW last year, congratulations on having a baby with Cody. That is
congratulations,
some positive to come out of it.
They've got a new puppy as well.
Yeah, so we love Cody. I mean, people do love Brandy. The only thing was heels, Brandy's idea.
I think it was.
Which I like the idea. It stands good, but I just find it the only time they ever promote it is during a women's match. Some people
would makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, it makes sense, but if it's something you do really want to push, I don't know why they just do it when they only have one women's match each Dynamite. I don't know.
No, it's
that's true.
I think maybe build a women's division worth talking about before you launch the place to talk about it.
Definitely, and they're not really offering stuff. Okay, who are we to say we are males? So I don't know.
Again,
the target group is like they're doing like live camera stuff, talking to each other and doing live plays like here. I don't know, Among Us, and so let's play stuff and board game nights, and so I'm like, I don't know, like how the engagement, especially for women, is given there. I also like there was a huge a backlash on the name heels because high heels are seen by feminists, and so like a real anti-feminism thing. And I don't really know about that. What to think about it? I think it's a nice thing they do an exclusive club, but I cannot see right now how it's driven to women directly.
But maybe that's okay. Maybe the fact it's not taken off huge is okay because then it keeps it small, and I'm sure there's people engaged in the community who've got a nice little community going. Do you know what I mean? So keeping it small. But Heels, the name, is probably pretty much the only thing I can get on board with it. I think it's quite clever. But Brandy Rhodes is not our worst wrestler of the year, just our second worst wrestler of the year, and Luther is number one. Our next award, I can't really say because it's Holy SHIT Moment of the Year, and I've done really well in not swearing since we started this podcast, so I don't have to put the explicit tag. In fact, Jack, if I say it, can you bleep it in post? It'll be...
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, here is the award for our Holy Shit Moment of the Year. I feel naughty saying it. And the winner is... It's Sting! Of course it is.
Of course.
No one would have expected that. No one.
I wasn't expecting that. I'd stayed off the dirt sheet, so I went crazy on my couch and marked out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. How familiar were you with Sting's work before AEW, Jack? You're a relatively recent wrestling fan.
Yeah, I knew of Sting, never actually seen any Sting matches, so that's something I've obviously got to do for myself, which I'm sure people will be cussing at me when listening, like, how have you not seen a Sting match? Because I'm a new wrestling fan, so I've not seen a lot of old stuff. But yeah, knew who Sting was, probably didn't mark out as much as you two, because you guys probably knew him more, but I was still excited because I liked what he could offer to the brand AEW, especially seeing as, was he the top selling shirts?
Oh yeah, when it first came out.
Shop AEW, yeah, stuff like that.
Brody Lee's tribute one outsold it, but...
Oh yeah. But yeah, and stuff he can offer storyline wise and experience and backstage, and I just think it's a really good addition, and I love that Tony Schiavone is Sting moment. And I know we talked about it in the last episode about how it's sort of worn off a little bit now, his entrance, but that's not to say, it's still not exciting. And I know you guys especially, and other AEW fans, will still get chills every time it happens.
Yeah, no, for sure. What you were mentioning there about not seeing Sting matches and what are the best Sting matches, and to be honest, when I cast my mind back, the best memories of Sting and the best moments of Sting weren't really in matches. They were, in programs with the NWO and doing stuff outside of the ring and showing up in the rafters and pointing his bat at people. Essentially, he's kind of doing now what he always used to do, but I feel there should be a bit more variation there. In fact, I made sure to pull up an article, Conan. I'm sure Jack might not be familiar with Conan, but not Conan, Ginger Conan. Conan, the wrestling manager, said something that kind of echoes what we were saying about Sting, because I knew we would be talking about Sting today. Or did I? Did I seal the envelopes? Why would I sit here and seal envelopes myself? He said, I get along with Tony Khan, but they are mistakes, man. They are rookie mistakes. I'll give you a good example. I had this discussion on my podcast. When Sting came out the first time, there was a guy on my podcast who told me he just came out and did nothing. And I said, well, he doesn't have to do anything. He came out and it's a surprise and it's Sting, man. Then the second week he told me the same thing, and this time I told him that he's right. That's why the ratings dropped so much, because the guy has been out 3 times and literally they haven't done anything. I mean, they have had 3 chances to make a breaking news bomb with this guy, and you haven't done anything. So yeah, I read that after we'd recorded our podcast and talked about it, and it was quite heartening to see someone in the industry share the same opinion about it. They definitely need to do something more with it, but deservedly number 1.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will as well, like all in due course. But they have, I don't know whose idea it was, whether it's Tony's or someone else saying let's prolong it and stuff, or whether they're waiting for a specific moment, like, I don't know, Revolution, even though that's ages away, or like one of them sort of special event shows. But yeah, it just seems a little prolonged, really.
Runners up in joint second, Matt Hardy's debut and Kenny Omega portraying AEW.
No, fair enough. That's good. Definitely.
Agree with those?
So I had another Matt Hardy moment, which was my number 1 moment, but this moment was just, it was holy shit. But like the other way around, when he and Sammy Guevara had that botched landing and he fell on his back of his head, I was like, no way. And this holy shit moment took like 10 minutes or so when they stopped the match and then decided, we're going to do it. Or Matt Hardy decided that he wants to continue. That was, I think, the biggest mistake until now from the company. I hope they will learn from it in the future. But that was a moment for me where you could see that he was really, really not himself in that moment, that he was really hurt. That was really scary.
I almost voted for that myself, but seeing as Patrick sworn twice now, I might as well. It was more of a what the fuck moment for me than a holy shit moment. So, it was just semantics, but yeah, I completely agree. And, the match carrying on made you think maybe he's not injured, because why would they carry on? And it made it seem like there was a really weird false finish going on. And you're like, what is happening? Like, it would. So in that sense, it was very, like I said, more what the fuck than holy shit. Although I wasn't a fan of the fact that, I wasn't a fan of any of that, of them carrying on the match, of the spot. But it was Aubrey throwing up the X's and then getting overruled that was the worst part for me. Yep. She did it like 2 or 3 times, and it's all talk really. They, everyone, them talking about how much they love Aubrey and they want to kind of push Aubrey and having this female ref in a really prominent position, and then that's all just lip service if she's throwing up the X's and you're just going to have them overrule her, and the doctor as well, like Doc Samson. It shouldn't have carried on, and he let it carry on, and what's the referee even there for? It's like saying, oh, the referee in pro wrestling is just an image, is just a performer, a ceremonial position. It's not a real position. It just could, they completely undermined her authority on that one.
Yep.
It was also
on the dock.
Yeah, and I was watching it with you, Tom. I remember watching the whole event with you, and it was just more uncomfortable to watch than anything. It was like, I've never seen anything like that, and yeah, you see Aubrey throw the X's up first, and you're like, that's it. And then it carried on, and the way it carried on was kind of embarrassing for the fact you could see Matt stumbling about, and the fact they
can't walk very well at the best of times.
Yeah, and then the way they finished it as well, where they climbed the kind of railings, didn't they?
My problem with it as well, another problem, is that they could have just used it as a reason for a rematch when he'd recovered. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
I get there was
no problem at all. No one would have also said, "Oh, I want my money back." Everyone would be like, "Shit, that's bad," or redo it on a Dynamite during the week, like a month later or so. That's completely fine. I think everyone is understanding this.
This match would, if anything, it would have added to it. Do you know what I mean? They had this rivalry was cursed from the. They had. One of them busted the other open. I think was like a hard way busting open. It wasn't blading. And then I don't know if the second one was blading, the receipt, but it also looked brutal. I know one of them was it Sammy throwing a chair at Matt's head or something like that. And the rivalry at this point was already so violent that it would have just added to the mystique of the feud if a match had got called off halfway through due to a legitimate concussion. Do you know what I mean? It would have enhanced the rivalry, and then the payoff at the final deletion or whatever you call it match on his compound would have been great. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know why they decided to do that, and just for Sammy to lose twice as well, because he lost in the final deletion match or ultimate deletion match or whatever it's called.
I think he also lost almost everything last year.
Yeah. Which I'm not opposed to, because it keeps it unpredictable. If you see a legend go in with a young guy that's on the up, and you think, oh, well, then Sammy's definitely going to win it. Do you know what I mean? But so if they throw a curveball like that, I'm fine with that. But on occasion. But yeah, it was messed up. But that wasn't even on our list. Our number one was It's Sting. I think you both agreed with that. On to the next award. We have High Flyer of the Year. It's a very exciting one. I know Hugh will be paying attention to this one. And our winner is... Come on, who else is it going to be? It's Rey Fenix.
Of course, especially after last week's performance also.
Yeah, I mean, if you needed anything else to justify why Rey Fenix is number one, first of all, where have you been? And secondly, all you have to do is look at last week's match, because it was insane. You see something new every time he's in the ring. He's just an innovator when it comes to high-flying moves.
Yeah. I had the honor in 2019 to see him live at an MLW show in New York.
Oh, fantastic.
And that was really fantastic to see it live and in person. Also on the same level, also Will Ospreay likes. So I also saw Will Ospreay on that same weekend also live. And that's special when you see these people perform live. That's of course something like wrestling. When you saw that now in the pandemic, nice to see, nice to have, but without a crowd, it's nothing. And when you see it live, with a live crowd, with you live there in person, just perfect. And also when you see these people live, it's great. And then Ray Phoenix is definitely one where I was like, wow.
Any words on Ray Phoenix, Jack?
Yeah, well deserved. I like my high flyers as much as you said, Hugh. I think they're really exciting and fun to watch. And yeah, Ray Phoenix it just goes without saying he's probably the best at it at the moment. Every match you watch with him, you get something different. You get a new kind of move to like get gassed about. And he's just really cool, especially as a singles wrestler as much as a tag wrestler, which we've seen as we saw in the last episode of Dynamite. So yeah, who else was it going to be really? I mean, I put down, I don't know, you'll go for runners up and that. I put Sammy and Darby.
Sammy is second on our runners up.
Yeah, who also really good. But yeah, it just when you look at the people you've got AEW, and you think who is the best high flyer. Well, I think we've done it right, and I think everyone would probably agree with us there.
So I would go as far as to say Ray Phoenix is a genius, and I don't mean because he's athletic. Of course, he's very athletic to pull these things off. It's that when I try and wrestling moves in my head, I think, what would my finisher be if I was a wrestler? And I try and think of a new move. It's so hard to think of a new move. It's like thinking of a new colour. And then Ray Phoenix just comes out and knocks out like 3 or 4 of them in a match, and it's like, I've never seen that before. And you have these guys on commentary, Chris Jericho and people like this who've been in the game a long time, said, I've never seen that before, you know. JR saying he's never seen moves before. Like, admittedly, wrestling was a lot less high flying for the first, 20 years of his career, but you know what I mean. I think he's a straight up genius.
Yeah, and definitely on top comes now, like with the as well as his match against his brother, also the Escalera de la Muerte match with the Young Bucks.
I still show people that match.
That him and his brother, they're not afraid to get demasked, unmasked. Sorry, unmasked is the word. Yeah, like his brother took apart his mask. What's his name again? Penta got his mask taken off and everything. So they're not ashamed of it. They're breaking also this wall a little bit. This lucha mystical guy, they're not afraid of it to even expose this just for a little bit to bring a shock effect to it. Like that's the last thing. The unmasking match was for decades just the last match of a wrestler, mostly.
You just don't do it, do you? It was the thing. By the way, Hugh, our friend Hugh, is not going to let you forget that you just couldn't remember Pentagon. Is Pentagon's
of
name
course.
Just then?
Pentagon is the best, as he would say, like always.
The unmasked. It's surprising how many people didn't realise that Ray Phoenix was bold. Myself, one of them, until he got unmasked on Dynamite. Well, partially unmasked.
Definitely, Sammy Guevara is also he's still a hidden gem, hidden a crystal in the making. This is also why I like that he keeps losing, because everyone sees he's so great. He will be a real big star one day, but they just keep him down a little bit and let him work. Also, like with Matt Hardy, the stuff, and so
he's
just
still
let
very
him work, and yeah, he's super young still. Same with MJF. MJF is somebody you could directly put a title on it, but then you're like, yeah, what's next? So just keep him low.
But yeah, Sammy's still young, and in my experience, 32 seems to be the kind of age when wrestlers seem to peak. Or is it 32 or 36? I remember, maybe even mid to late, no, maybe not late 30s, mid 30s. So he's still got a long way to go, and
I just had a look.
Just can keep getting better and better. How old's he?
I just had a look. Sammy is 7, MJF's 24.
That is surprising that MJF is probably the baby face on Sammy, but it's surprising to me that MJF is 3. Okay, that guy's got a big career.
MJF,
massive. Possibly out of everyone on AEW that hasn't wrestled before WWE before, MJF probably has the biggest career ahead of him, I reckon. Hangman Page might be up there, but
he's already a little older, so they should get going with it now. In the near future.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that later, but yeah, they need to pull the trigger on that. Okay, the next one is the Brody Lee Memorial Award for Brawler of the Year. I like what I did there. My little way of
nice touch.
honouring him. Okay, there we go. And the winner is It's a tie.
Oh.
It's not Brody Lee, unfortunately, but he has the award name, and he is second. He's in second place. But first place is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Very good,
What do you make of that?
Especially as they had a match together. Which
that was a violent match.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah.
It was really good, really good. Indie hardcore violence, almost deathmatch violence, like from the good old days from Moxley. But yeah, it's fine. For me, it was Brody Lee, but also Jon Moxley is also fine. I think he did it all the year over. But Brody Lee was for me just because of the 2 matches with Cody. It was for me that was such a good brawl. I haven't seen such 2 good brawl matches in years. From storytelling and everything, that was great. But like I said, Jon Moxley, fine. Eddie Kingston, fine. I also had Darby Allin in it because he's also a little brawler, although he's a little smaller and thinner. But yeah, I'm fine with that.
I think it's probably a quantity over quality thing in terms of Jon Moxley. Do you know what I mean? He's consistently been a brawler and an effective brawler, and he makes his, the stuff he does look quite realistic. I don't think I've ever caught him blading. I mean, does he bleed a lot in his matches? I mean, he does, but
he did bleed in some matches. I remember, but I don't know if he blades or this happens
like
from.
I said, I don't know. Well, did you ever see old tape of him on CZW where he gets a saw to the head?
No.
he takes an electric saw to the head, right? I can't remember who he was facing. I think it might have been Brain Damage, but it was in Tournament of the Death, predictably. This guy takes electric back and forth electric saw and puts it up to Jon Moxley's head, and you see blood spurt out, right? And so much so that I'd never met anyone who ever questioned the authenticity. They said, well, he's a maniac. He just literally let someone put an electric saw to his head. And then years later he said, oh man, that spot was so fake. And it's like, how? Like, he has been consistently good at selling violence for a long time. And if anything, I think maybe he's being underutilized by the TV 14 rating. If it was like rated R, this guy would just be like literally fork sticking out of his body and,
yeah, right.
just a complete murder.
The stuff he was doing with Kenny in the unsanctioned match a little bit.
Yeah,
also.
I mean, he's getting a bit older now and he's going to be a father, so maybe he's trying to tone it down a bit, but still, yeah, good stuff. And Eddie Kingston, ditto. These guys go back a long time, and it's similar styles in terms of their intensity and violence. And I think it's been a really good year for Eddie Kingston, especially. He came in and not a lot of people knew who he was. I'd only really seen him briefly on NWA Power. I'd seen a bit of him on that, but he's. I think I saw he came 10th in Sports Illustrated's rating of the top wrestlers of the year, and that's across all promotions, not just AEW.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it's definitely wouldn't have expected it when he first debuted, and he's got a bit of a dad bod, and he's coming out in kind of cheap looking ring gear initially, and but it's definitely been a surprise of the year. What do you make of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston as joint winners, Jack?
Yeah, well deserved. Mox goes out saying just to repeat what you said, every match she's in is a proper brawl. Also, as you said, maybe because he's getting older, he's toned it down, but it still doesn't seem that way when you watch his matches, like the unsanctioned match with Kenny last year. Eddie and Kingston match this year was brutal. What other matches has he had this year? Can't think, actually.
Yeah, Jake Hager.
Jake Hager, yeah.
I even remember that match because they took it into the crowd, and that was, in terms of his championship defenses this year, was a bit... or last year, if you want to say now, because we're recording this in 2021, that was obviously a bit lackluster. Despite the fact that, and this is the thing, Jake Hager's a good wrestler, but you can't fake charisma. Do you know what I mean? And his matches are just lacking in a little special something. But even that match, I just remember them being in the crowd. I remember, Mox. I think did he put his arm in in one of the posts leading down to the ring?
Yeah.
Jake Hager did to him or something. But yeah, I just he makes matches memorable, matches that Moxley's in, for the spots he does.
For sure, he has no sort of what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't say no to any of these suggestions, or even if he suggests himself, he puts himself into all sort of scenarios and situations like that, and it pays off well. And with Eddie, Eddie's probably had one of the best years in AEW for a wrestler. As you said, came out of nowhere for a lot of people, and now he's main evented a pay-per-view, which is a big deal for someone that not a lot of people knew. And I feel like he obviously main evented it with a title shot against Mox, and I could see him main eventing it again because he's a big character for AEW. Obviously, leader of is that what they call it? The fam?
I did see it come up as Eddie Kingston's fam, which I wasn't a fan of on a segment. But you know.
But no, he's a big character. Great at promos. Great when he's on the commentary table, and knows how to have a good match. I think he's better in like matches he had with Mox, so hardcore matches more than just a normal match. But definitely joint top. I probably would agree. I think I put him on top of mine. Didn't actually put Mox on mine, but I see it. Well deserved there. Yeah.
All right, and this takes us on to the Technical Wrestler of the Year award. Psyched for this one. And the winner is... Kenny Omega.
Surprise, surprise, right?
Again, it's like Phoenix and his high flyer of the year. Just have to look at his last, as far as his last match. The same match, in fact. It's his lines that he keeps when he hits these dragon suplexes and how clean everything is, and it's been that way for a long time. I mean, you go back and look at the quadrilogy with Okada. I mean, what can we say about him that hasn't already been said, really?
Yeah, and also like a little bit reinventing himself, although he's doing a little bit the cleaner again. But thing with Don Callis, 27 years in the making. I raised this chart. That's really, really good. Like also how they put that together with the Impact joint venture they're doing now. It's
going to be a heck of a match because I've been. It's hard to follow Impact at the moment because they have zero crowd because I think of the restrictions of the state they're in. I don't know if they're in Canada because I know it got bought out by a Canadian company, or whether they're in Tennessee. I think they might be in Tennessee, but either way, I don't think they have the same laxness with the restrictions as Florida. So they have absolutely zero crowd, and it's just, I tried watching Genesis the other night, and I'm sure it's objectively good. I mean, they had the Super X Cup, but I found it very hard to get into just because of the silence. You know what I mean? And I realise the irony there from someone who's a big fan of New Japan, but even with New Japan, it starts silent and then it builds. You know what I mean? Always used to, at least when they're allowed to cheer, but it builds with the claps now. But just nothing in the crowd on Impact, which is difficult. But I still think it's going to be a very good match. FTR were our runners up.
Best tag team in the world, probably, because I was really excited when they came in. I think it was a little like side thing that they came in out of nowhere. Also, then this thing like on Twitter or Reddit about them stealing the name, the Revolution, from these indie guys from their territory thing. They changed it now to the Revelation. Whatever, guys. FTR was the big thing about it, and I've been a real huge fan of them as they were the revival back in the days in NXT, because then I started my second wrestling run. I think it was 2015 or so. And then I actually started not with WWE watching, but I got into NXT because they were building the NXT brand, and they were the top tag team together with, maybe you remember them, Blake and Murphy.
Came out doing leapfrogs to dubstep.
Yeah, right. And with Alexa Bliss as their manager. So, but they had great matches.
Alexa Bliss was their manager.
Yeah. And they had great matches with the American Alpha, how they called them later. One of the biggest heartbreaking thing for me personally, that American Alpha is no more one of the best tag teams ever. But the matches with them were great. So I was very stoked for them. So sorry, Jack, now you can go.
I was just going to say, you suggesting that Shorty G was not the greatest gimmick of our generation.
Not really. He would be, if we would do a WWE podcast, he would always lead up as the most undervalued wrestler for me right now. There are other ones which are, but he's definitely so undervalued since he split up with from what was his name again? I also forgot him. He's not wrestling anymore.
Jason Jordan.
Jason Jordan, yeah. Kurt Angle's secret son.
I was just about to say that I can't believe the gimmicks they gave both those guys, Shorty G and Kurt Angle's secret son.
That's so stupid.
God, yeah, this is why we do an AEW podcast, because I don't think we'd keep our sanity if we. Jack, FTR.
FTR, love FTR. Different kind of tag team than I'm used to now from watching AEW, as you know from the intro episode where I said I'm not too experienced with. I was about to say, it's not even old wrestling, but you know what I mean. I only started quite recently getting back into it, so a lot of the tag teams I've been watching, or I'm big fans of, the high flyers like Young Bucks and Lucha Bros and that sort of style. So FTR coming in and as they were saying in a lot of the episodes, you know, old school wrestling, old school tag wrestling, they're bringing it back. It's a nice change and it's a nice kind of alternative to that tag team division in AEW. And especially having them as a top team in the tag division, when you combine, like them, I know we'll get to it for Match of the Year award, but I put second at Young Bucks FTR because the combination of the styles was it's really nice to watch. And yeah, technically FTR are just great to watch. They do things right as they say, like the way the tag teams are and the moves they put together. And yeah, it's just really nice to watch. And yeah, with Kenny winning it, goes without saying, we're all Kenny fans, and yeah, just watching his matches are just pleasing to the eye.
You do yourself a disservice, Jack, because you did watch FTR versus DIY. I made you watch it. We all know the match, the one where I believe DIY won their first tag titles, but they've been knocking it out of the park with matches like that forever. Fantastic wrestlers. I think it may have gone the Young Bucks way in any other year, including probably this one. I know we're only a few days into it, but with them as tag titles and them having prominent matches. The Elite, including Kenny, they just weren't on foot. The three of them, those three, just weren't. It wasn't their year last year. Obviously, Kenny won the title at the very end of it, but leading up to that, he kept kind of a low profile until he had this whole kind of reinventing himself as a cocky guy. Well, not reinventing himself, he's always been a cocky guy, but you know what I mean? Reinventing himself. When I remember when he beat Sonny Kiss in the tournament. He was a replacement for Joe Janela, and the face he pulled after hitting him with a one-winged angel, just beating him in like 5 seconds, and then just like sitting there smug. That was kind of a big turning point for me. Literally, just that moment was for me Kenny's turning point. But he had a bit of a lackluster year up until that point, I think, and so did the Young Bucks.
Do we have any other up and runners behind him?
No, just
except FTR.
Just FTR second, Kenny Omega first. Why? Who would you
third? Is there no third?
There is no third.
There's no third because I put John Silver in it.
That means nobody else voted for John Silver.
Yeah, right. John Silver also.
I can see that.
Also mention, like we should mention him also. That's just great. I was so surprised seeing him also together with Alex Reynolds, but also himself like in singles matches. He is technically really, really good. Maybe going back to his size, that he has to bring up something because he's not the powerhouse, although he's like, he's more like a squared guy, like he is as wide as tall, but he's a cool guy. I really like him.
I've noticed that about short guys, and whether it's because they have a good base on them, they're often very technically sound wrestlers, like Pac is very technically sound as well as being a high flyer. Me and Jack pointed this out, that Pac and Kota Ibushi are quite similar wrestlers, and Kota Ibushi is both a good high flyer and very technically sound with his suplexes, and his everything's very, very clean. So I mean, it's I think the same about Silver, especially he had that match with Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy's obviously, I mean, don't get me wrong, Orange Cassidy can really go. Like, he did some stuff in Chikara as, I want to say Fire Ant, but it might have been Green Ant, where
I think it was Fire Ant,
Fire Ant, yeah. He's always been a fantastic wrestler, but obviously he's also a gimmick wrestler, and wrestles his hands in his pockets and stuff, and that was a fantastic match, that Orange Cassidy versus John Silver, and I don't think it would have been as fantastic if John Silver wasn't as technically gifted as he is. So he can be honorary third place. Now we move on to Talker of the Year. So who is the best on the microphone and on promos? Ooh. And the winner is... I don't know, because I've got the wrong piece of the envelope. There it is. And the winner is... Eddie Kingston. I mean, again, not much of a surprise, is it?
Not really, no. Especially, that's what you especially have to mention. It was completely off the air and everything. The pep talk he gave afterwards. And
I also haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's just one of the best things I've seen in years. So, yeah, he was not my number one. What was he? My number three? But still, yeah, it's fine. Like it's like it's high quality. It's really complaining at high quality. Who's the best here? So, congratulations, Eddie.
Jack, Eddie Kingston. Again, you were saying it's been Eddie Kingston's year. This is his second award now, the first to get 2 awards in our award show. Eddie Kingston and his talking ability.
Mentioned Eddie, obviously, for Brawler. For his talking ability. I am contemplating saying I think he's a better talker than wrestler, but that's very close for me. I love any promo he does, even for the fact that I remember on BTE they even said to him, like, you can cut a promo on anything, and they gave him like a random thing to cut a promo on, and even that gets you like, he is... Oh, that's another one. I think it was BTE a couple of weeks ago for the tribute Brody Lee show. He gave a talk to whole like team and crew. Like,
wasn't that what Patrick was just talking about then?
Yeah, that was what I was talking about. Yeah, which was completely off the air. Actually, not anything to do with Dynamite, but still killing it then also. So
just to repeat, then, Patrick, that was just incredible. As I mentioned earlier, for the brawling scenario, he can do anything. Commentary, we've seen it. He's incredible on when working with Tony and JR. I just get excited anytime he's cutting a promo or anytime, Butcher Blade wrestling, because he's there, and it's just that extra kind of incentive, and it feels, I don't know, he gives that presence that, he's a douchebag kind of guy, but he could work his way around it, you know what I mean? He could convince you kind of to do anything. I reckon he's kind of got that ability, but yeah, I think he's a really good heel. He's really good at cutting a promo. So yeah, Talker of the Year, Eddie Kingston. I think people agree with that.
Just to add to that, I think AEW has a bad habit of asking you to care about matches, title matches as well, on about 2 weeks' notice, and normally it doesn't pay off for them. But with Eddie makes it work. I remember I had no reason to care about his match with Jon Moxley until he cut a promo that made me care about it. And the emotion in his promos, and specifically that promo, and you hear his voice breaking and his eyes welling up, but he's still this just hard man, and he just there's so much passion in it. And to come back to what you said about saying he cut this amazing promo that wasn't even on the air, I think we have a tendency to think of great promos in limited supply, because they usually are, because you usually have to, strike gold, you have to have inspiration, and you don't always have that. And so if someone cuts a promo like that on BTE, we're like, why are you wasting that on BTE? Put it on Dynamite. But then you remember that Eddie can just flip a switch and do it every single night. Do you know what I mean? Because he's that good a talker. And speaking of good talkers, obviously our runner-up is MJF, which is also not a surprise.
Definitely, yeah. MJF, and I also got Jericho. Did I have Jericho? Yeah, Jericho also in it, like these other random. But I think MJF more. Jericho was not that often on the mic in promo-wise in the ring. I have nominated him more for his commentary, which was great this year, especially these pandemic episodes where they produced like, what is it, 4 or 5 weeks of television in one night. That was really awesome.
Jericho was very good at keeping spirits up during the Brody Lee tribute show, because that ran the risk of being great matches that they had, and it was a great show. I believe one of you nominated it for Event of the Year, but it was yeah, it ran the risk of kind of being tinged with this horrible sadness. And I mean, obviously, it was very sad, but Jericho kept that kind of comic relief and kept the show from feeling too much of a mourn fest and more of what it was supposed to be, which was a celebration of life. Do you know what I mean? It was supposed to be a positive thing, and I think he did that very well. Yeah, but he's been killing it for what, like 30 years? So on the mic, especially. So, I mean, this is why he gets banded around as the greatest of all time, because he's very technically sound. He used to have, decent kind of high-flying ability, and and the talking, especially. But yeah, MJF, second place. I think if it was 2019, he would have been the runaway winner there. But unfortunately for him, Eddie Kingston kind of stormed AEW this year and has claimed another award. Right. Moving on, our next award is Most Improved Female Wrestler. Now, female wrestler and male wrestler, we've got some gendered awards. This one wasn't originally going to be a gendered award, but then when I asked for Patrick's nominations, he sent me them gendered anyway, so I made it one.
I had them in our conversation we were talking about, and it looked for me like, but I think, yeah, it's fine.
It's all right. Now, the winner of the award that exists only due to Patrick's executive action is Britt Baker. I mean, for sure. She was on both the mic and in ring. I know she got a bit of backlash initially because people like, you want to build the women's division around this, you know what I mean? She wasn't the best in the ring, and she was really bad on the mic. And I remember a period around the beginning of the year, around the Jericho Cruise, where she would go out and she would cut an amazing promo like that Whataburger Smiles promo, and then she'd cut a terrible one like the one on the Jericho Cruise where you had Tony Schiavone. I think it's become quite a reaction gif of him saying "what the fuck" like that, just mouthing it, and it echoed a lot of our sentiments. But yeah, she went for a period of great promo, terrible promo, great promo, terrible promo, and there was no in between. But it's become more consistent, especially with her injury, which has helped her in a way, I think, because she had to do a lot of out of ring stuff. And the what was it called, Jack? You probably remember the Rolls Royce or the
it was the Rolls Royce because she was the role model, wasn't she?
Yeah, the role model. Yeah. I know you're a big fan, Jack, of Britt Baker. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
I am, and I'm actually embarrassed because I didn't put her down as most improved female wrestler.
I know, but I considered that because you thought she was always great.
Yeah, no, I actually put her down for Wrestler of the Year, so we'll see where she comes out. Just because, I always liked her, even ever since. I mean, it's weird to think now, like, AEW's been going since 2018?
I mean, Dynamite's been going since the, October 2019?
Yeah, October 2019.
But AEW, has been going since, I think Double or Nothing was February 2018, I think? Maybe. Yeah. No, or 19.
It's trying to think. Time on it. Anyway, she has been...
May.
Yeah, it was May. They started in May, and then they had, throughout the summer, they had the shows. What was that? Like the gaming show here? Like I don't know the name
Fighter Fest.
Fighter Fest, yeah, right. Fighter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. These ones, and then they had All Out, which also was the start afterwards with Dynamite.
Yeah.
Early 2019, but I think got announced in 2018, possibly.
Yeah. Sure. So I've just seen her as an overriding kind of best female because she's the one that's been consistent for me throughout. We've had female wrestlers come and go and have their peak and then kind of gone down, and you don't see them a lot. I love her promo work. Everything she's done with Tony was great during this year. So I see why she wins now, because when I was going through mine, obviously I was putting stuff together. Now you hear who's the winner, you think, actually, I get that. For me, I put Anna Jay. So I don't know if she's runner-up or anything.
Number 2, yes.
Number 2, yeah. Because I just think she, for me, came out of nowhere. She was I don't know what her gimmick was called. It's the showgirl one, wasn't it? Oh, what was it? Does anyone remember what it's called? Star of the Show or something like that? Where she came out.
I completely missed it. So that shows you how impactful her previous gimmick was before she joined the Dark Order.
I think she came out and she had a top hat and kind of cane sort of thing. Because like
a showgirl with this.
Yeah. Because I remember
everything up.
Yeah, I remember listening to her Unrestricted, and I think that's what she did before. And she said her favourite part of wrestling was the storyline kind of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, she was the showgirl. And then obviously she got recruited by Dark Order. And I think from there, to me, when she was that showgirl, she was just dark kind of material, maybe every now and then on Dynamite against whoever the champ was, just to get kind of beaten to show the champ still good.
Squash match.
Yeah, squash match. But then she got recruited by Dark Order, Brody Lee, who, we'll talk about, I'm sure, continuously in this podcast. But yeah, and now she, for me, looks like a main eventer for the women's division. She could, when she challenged Shida for the title, I thought she could win it then. I could still see her winning it whenever. I think she's really good. And yeah, I think she should. But anyway, enough about that. That's who obviously I put. But Britt Baker, yeah, unreal. Really good. She's got to be champ at some point. Could it be the next champ taking it off Shida? I'm not sure. She's got the feud with Thunder Rosa, who obviously is great as well. But yeah, she's had a great year and has just risen in terms of everything, wrestling ability and promos.
Number 3, Tay Conti. You agree with that?
Yep, definitely. Yeah. Also that she got kicked out of WWE, not really used in NXT or so, and then coming in and showing a jiu-jitsu. Was it jiu-jitsu? Yeah. Style she has, or background she has. She's not the best yet, but there's a lot more to come from her. She's really good.
Again, I guess the important thing is she is better than she used to be, and within just one match or so, she was able to show. I think they just said to her, just go out, show what you want to show, and then you're like, wow, why did they kick her out? She has so much potential. Yeah. Okay, the next award is predictably for Most Improved Male Wrestler of the Year. And the winner is... Should have opened it before I said and the winner is. And the winner is... Right, so there's a bit of backstory behind this one. And I've just remembered it now I've opened it. So, my number one, neither of my number one or number two is the winner. My number one was Evil Uno, and my number two was Stu Grayson. And so I had to think of a number 3. Now, Jack had put The Blade as his number 1, and Patrick had put The Butcher. And I knew that The Butcher or The Blade would be my third, and that I would hand the victory to one of them. But it didn't seem right because you'd both put, one half of the tag team and not put the other one. So despite the fact that this is an individual award, I've made an exception and given it as a tag award. To The Butcher and The Blade.
Fine.
I like the way
really, really good choice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they went through a period of being really underutilized. There was a lot of excitement around them. I don't know if you remember when MJF paid them off to attack the Young Bucks, and there was this whole thing that they were going to be the next APA, and they just kind of disappeared a bit, and they weren't having any particularly memorable matches. But yeah, I mean, how would you say they've improved since then?
Great. Really, really great. For me, I voted The Butcher, so for me, The Butcher is the better guy of both of them, but it's just, subjective as to who's the better one. But I like, for me now, The Butcher so much, and working also with The Blade together, this tag team. Yeah, they came out of nowhere, and they were mercenaries in the beginning. Like I said, who are these guys? What are they? Especially, what is The Butcher? What kind of guy is he? He looked
his look is so unique.
It's so unique, and then they started wrestling. You're like, okay, but then it improved over the whole year.
Yeah.
Where it comes to my point with The Butcher, that he had the title match against John Moxley. When you're was it a title match or just a main event? I'm not sure anymore.
I'm not sure. I don't think it was a main event.
Moxley.
I think it was a singles match.
Yeah, but it was really great. Him against Moxley in a really nice brawling match. And in general, he's improving so much. And these guys were he was for 5 years now on the indie circuit, getting back into wrestling or getting into wrestling in general. He was never a wrestler, really. Right?
Well, he's a guitarist for what band? Quite a famous band. I've forgotten though now.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone
so
will
famous.
Tell us. Yes, no, they are. They've got a decent amount of listens. But look, Jack's. I can see Jack's. He's lit up, which means he's looking for something. It's not a day to remember, is it? No.
Every Time I Die.
Every Time I Die, of course. Yeah. The Every Time I Die. No, they are quite big in certain circles. I probably if push came to shove out the two of them, I would have said the Blade is most improved, but only because I already rated the Butcher from way back when. And if you remember I think it was a tag team battle royal, where both teams had to get eliminated. Both members of the team had to get eliminated, and I can't remember what it was for. I think it might have been for a title shot, and I think the Young Bucks might have won. But the Blade got eliminated early, and the Butcher wrestled pretty much the whole match solo. And ever since then, I've said, there's something, this guy's actually got some wrestling to him as well as a really good look. So for that reason, I would have said the Blade's been most improved. I'm sure Jack will tell us more about why he thought the Blade was most improved.
Yeah, how do I kind of word it? I like both, and I think you've done the right thing giving it a tag team award. I think they go well together. They kind of got it's hard to word. The Butcher's obviously the bigger guy, and it's the kind of big man feel to it, where it's kind of like he does the brutal stuff and does the heavy hitting stuff, and the Blade sort of does the more, I would say like high five, but it's not really high five. You know what I mean?
Quicker. I know. Exactly. There was a word in my head when you started talking.
And I just think it's hard to kind of give you a reason why you should pick the Blade over the Butcher. I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm just gonna say.
Well, I think as out of ring stuff as well. Eddie Kingston's done a lot for them. I think. And the other day on Dynamite, when they cut to the back and they'd all attacked Pac and Pentagon. I've done it, and Hugh's going to be after me now. When they'd attacked him, it kind of made me think, yes, this is what, I mean, I know they had their own reasons for attacking them anyway, but the fact that they were helping out the other heels, and it kind of felt like they might be this kind of gunfire thing again. I think I'd like to see him as. I think they've still got a little bit of a way to go before you could put the titles on them and it feel legit. But they're slowly on their way. My number one was actually Evil Uno, because I think he's gotten into shape, a relative shape. He's still not, he's not an Adonis still, but you know what I mean. He's and his look has improved as well. He had the kind of, which is part of it for me. He had the kind of spandex gimp mask before, and now he's got like a nicer one made, and he started wearing the kind of decent top, and I think they've always been kind of back. They were Super Smash Brothers. I think they Player Uno, Player DOS. They've always been good, and they've always had good matches. And I think they've had potential for a while, but I think Uno's just recently kind of improved to where he can compete at this kind of televised national level, and obviously on BTE, him getting papers thrown in his face and that scream was also part of it, his kind of out of ring product as well. So that was my vote anyway, but no one else voted for him, so
That was still a good choice. I also saw that, especially his physical form improving over the year. That was nice. He wasn't that much in the ring. I'm hoping he's gonna get more in-ring time, but I'm also curious to see now what happens with the Dark Order, if he will be the leader or Johnny S is coming in to take the reins. I don't know.
Or Hangman Page even.
Or him, yeah. There are a lot of options now. So.
Right, our next award is for Event of the Year. Quite a big one, this. And the winner is... Revolution. Not a surprise for me. That was a heck of a show.
Yeah, for me, Revolution, and up until Full Gear, just gone, Full Gear 2020, that was the best pay-per-view for me. It had unreal storylines. Every match you invested in, every match wasn't just, put together in a couple of weeks, and it kind of every match had a big fight feel. Even Orange Cassidy Pac had quite a big match.
That was the first one I was going to mention.
That was the show stealer of the night.
Exactly.
Really.
You had notable matches. Obviously, Mox getting the title, and then last time a pay-per-view crowd, and really last time a proper crowd really was there. I mean, I know you had a couple of Dynamites after, but that was big moment. Obviously, the
There was a really good. Was it Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin?
Yeah, Guevara Darby. That was a great storyline.
Fantastic match.
You had the was it 6.25 rated Dave Meltzer, Kenny.
I was purposely not mentioning it, and so we can save it till last. Kenny and Hangman versus the Young Bucks. Ooh.
Unreal. And yeah, just a amazing pay-per-view. Obviously helped by the crowd. You can argue and say other pay-per-views would have been as big with the crowd, but I think you just got to. That was at the start of the year as well. That's how long ago it is. That was 2020, and it just seems so weird now. Yeah, that for me was hands down. Full Gear did come very close because I thought the card for Full Gear this year was stacked as well. But now I think overall that pay-per-view was just, worth the money, really.
Anything to add, Patrick?
No, nothing really. I had it on number 2, but there was a close call with Double or Nothing. I think, it was just my preference, but still, both of them were such on a high level, and all pay-per-views were on a high level the whole year. This is also what I like about their pay-per-view strategy, just having 5 events a year. Maybe some bigger shows like in between on Dynamite, but that's just the way to go because that's the money worth. And we Europeans, we're lucky. We just have to pay $20 for it, not 50 like the Americans. But
probably I don't know. Well, it's a good job we're not a famous podcast right off the bat because they'd probably change it by me revealing this secret. But if you go on the fight, if you don't go through the fight app and you go to the browser, you go on browser, you can actually pay for it in dollars and get even more money off. So like instead of being £20 here, it's $20. So it ends up being like £16.
I also have $20 here. Yeah. So it changes, but like the $50 they have to pay for what is on Bleacher Roll in the US and on
Bleacher
the
Report.
normal Bleacher Report and the normal pay TV. I don't know what the normal pay TV is in the US.
The money they get, they have
just
to pay
$50. Then I'd rather really drive there if I would be living in the US and watch it live than paying $50 for something you watch on the television. So, but it has always been like this. Also, WWE pay-per-views on pay-per-view in the US were always ridiculously, like in Germany they were like €15 or so, 20 euros
£15
for an event,
they
which is
always
decent.
were.
That's completely decent.
They I recently found out that cell phone plans in America are about $100 a month, and they've just been convinced that this is how much you're supposed to pay for cell phone plans, and they're like £30 a month here tops. It's crazy. But I guess that's a similar thing with the pay-per-views. You convince people this is how much something should cost, and if they, then they don't know any other way, then.
I'm curious if it's plus or including taxes. That's the thing that comes mostly on top when you buy stuff.
Depends on the state, doesn't it? And then they add it on. I remember going to the States as a kid, and they just, I bought a 25p pack of gum with 25 cents printed on the packet, and then you take the thing, they're like, oh, that'll be 32 cents. It's like, what? It's so random to put a price and then have to pay more.
Yeah, right.
Like, you have to calculate it yourself. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. We've now got Breakout Female Wrestler of the Year.
We're not doing runners-up for that one.
Oh, sorry. No, there are no runners-up for that one.
Oh, well.
Everyone else's choices were different.
Yeah, fair. I went for Full Gear, said very close, and Brody's tribute show. I just put just for the nice touch. It was a good card as well.
So I believe because you both voted Revolution as second, and I voted it for it first, and then that's why it'd be.
Yeah, I put it first, and Patrick put it second,
So I'd wait. You voted Revolution first or Full Gear first? Oh,
Revolution
I thought you were saying. Just based on what you said earlier about it being the best pay-per-view you'd seen up until Full Gear, I thought you might put Full Gear ahead of it.
Oh no, I was saying Full Gear came close.
Came close.
Okay. Until okay, cool. Anyway, next one.
Next award. And this is Breakout Female of the Year, and the award goes to. Anna Jay, of course.
Hooray! We knew this would happen. Most improved and most and the breakout. Was she most improved? No, I forgot it.
Second most improved.
Second, my brain is bad, but at least breakout star because she started last year, came out of nowhere, and that was just. But all of the breakout stars, also the other ones I choose, Layla Hirsch and Abaddon, they came from out of nowhere and then made it big time. So.
The awards card is all of the ones Patrick said. So he got quite on the pulse. Third place was Layla Hirsch, second place Abaddon, and first place Anna Jay. So I think Patrick will be very happy with that.
Yeah, super happy, really. Like the future looks bright. There's nothing to add to it, I would say. For women's wrestling, if they're booking it right.
Yeah, I was just about to say the future looks bright, but now they've got to actually utilise the talent.
Yeah, for sure. All these girls should be. But I remember Layla Hirsch, especially. As soon as I saw her, I think I might have gone to Hugh or somebody and said they need to push this girl to the moon. Do you know what I mean? I was like, she's, this is what they need. This technical. I think we were saying on our other show should fit straight into Team Taz. Do you know what I mean? If they wanted a female representative for the group, just a badass. Fantastic wrestler. Same guy. I mean, Abaddon. I find her. I find her in-ring ability middling. I know Jack said he thinks she's quite good, but I think her strength is in her. Why she's been so breakout is in her very unique gimmick. And Anna Jay is just fantastic. I think they could have given her the title against Shida and nobody would have complained. I was quite hyped for that match, and it was one of those ones where I thought it could have gone either way. To be honest. It was good as well. Right, breakout male wrestler of the year, and the winner is John Silver.
Johnny Hungy.
Johnny Hungy.
Yes.
Johnny Hungy for an award. And he's got one. What can be said about John Silver?
Oh,
we go to first, Jack.
If it's okay. For me, John Silver came out of the works. I think we probably all agree, BTE. Seeing his gimmick on BTE, he just had me in stitches.
He's hilarious.
I love BTE. I watch it every week. But he was the one that I started looking forward to most, and then it was starting to look forward to Dark Order skits. He's got that comedic kind of aura about him, and it's just like anything he says is just funny. And
it's gold, isn't it?
Yeah, and I heard on was it Unrestricted? Anyway, basically, they were saying why is it taking you so long? Because obviously he was part of Dark Order anyway. But Brody Lee basically was saying to him, obviously it's funny on BT, but he never really showed it on Dynamite. It's like, why are you not showing this on Dynamite? This is going to be so over. Because originally he was just a wrestler on Dynamite, wasn't he? There was nothing really stand out about him. He was just just there. But
they debuted as the Beaver Boys, him and Alex Reynolds, which I don't really think translated very well to TV. That's before they joined the Dark Order.
Exactly. But on BT they were hilarious. It's like, you're so over on BT, yet obviously nothing on Dynamite. It's like, you need to bring that to Dynamite and you'll get so over. And it's just shown. He's funny on Dynamite. Obviously he had his match with OC, which was just great. Two really funny gimmicks that everyone liked, and it went down a hit because obviously they're both really good wrestlers as well. The kind of way he's risen from being nothing to now, would you say mid-card wrestler?
If that.
Yeah.
Now. Sorry, now he's a mid-card wrestler. I thought you meant before. Yeah, now for sure he's king in the mid-card. I love that.
That's it. BTE champ. If you follow BT, he's got a title on him, which is great to see.
So he's not only a talented wrestler, but also outside of everything.
That's it. He's just an all-round great character, and I just hope maybe it won't be 2021, I imagine, but I could see him being at least TNT champ.
I'd like to
at some point.
I'd like to focus on something you just said about him needing to bring it over on BTE. So the Dark Order have been two completely different factions on BTE and on Dynamite this year. They've been very serious on Dynamite and very jokey on BTE. And I think, in some respects, I think that works really well because BTE's a less serious show, do you know what I mean? And having this heel group being so funny on Dynamite might not translate well. I remember they tried it, and I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was after Brody Lee's title win, he did the thing with the lawnmowers on Dynamite. He brought out a load of ride-on lawnmowers, which is obviously an inside joke from BTE. And I think they just automatically assumed everyone who watches Dynamite watches BTE, which is just not the case. Do you know what I mean? And it confused a lot of people. So maybe that's the reason they haven't tried again. But I don't know. It might be time to convert all the comic stuff and make them and it will work if they're face. Do you know what I mean? If they have a face turn now, it might be time to bring that comedy element of the Dark Order to Dynamite.
Well, I think that's coming. I do think that, especially now, they're getting Hangman on the side a little bit, and in my opinion,
and he's a comedy. He's had a comedy. I mean, he's had a kind of a tragicomic kind of gimmick, if you know what I mean, with his kind of alcoholism as well. But he's been, the stuff with the writing on his name card and stuff, and has been drinking and then noticing the camera, and he's a very funny guy. So I mean, it's so sad that Brody Lee has died, but I think you'd be happy to notice that it is not. As Eddie Kingston says, they are not nothing without him. Do you know what I mean? There is a big future there for them as faces. Do you know what I mean?
I just think it makes sense now, especially.
And I think that's the way John Silver will actually continue this rise, is as a face and a funny face on TV, because I don't think being a heel does him justice. What do you think, Patrick, about what was said? Yeah,
he didn't have a lot of Dynamite airtime yet compared to the time he has on BTE. But I also think they're now slowly building him. They're like, okay, there's another one we have here, which we should build slowly but surely. And he's just great for me. Like his character is so funny, entertaining. I'm also watching BTE every week, and I'm really looking forward to some stupid idea he comes up next with. There were these consequent weeks, week after week, where him and Reynolds started to recruit people. It was just hilarious how stupid they were. And still
I like
are.
One where they,
and what I wanted to point out also, this guy on Reddit, I don't know if it was Squared Circle or the AEW official, who was in a cult, and he said, this is legit how we behaved in the cult. Like, from the outside you're like, these crazy people with a strong hierarchy and all that weird stuff, but in the inside we're just joking around and fooling around, not taking ourselves serious. And then really like a leader person comes in and has to bring everything in order, which Brody Lee did. So let's see how that develops, but I was very happy with him last year.
Yeah, I saw that on Reddit too. Said it was a lot of fun. Do you know what I mean? And that's what they make being in the Dark Order seem fun. The other two runners-up, in third place we have Powerhouse Hobbs, in second place we have Ricky Starks. Agreed with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, Will Hobbs also, he improved now also with the switch to Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't like his name now, to be honest, but putting him into Team Test, giving him this heel look, and just giving him this, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, this build-up to becoming a heel, that was really cool, I have to say. And that's also a guy for the future, like, proper powerhouse for the future.
Although his heel gimmick does tend to consist of snarling at the camera, like with that face he pulls, which I'm not sure about that. I wasn't a big fan of him initially because it kind of seemed unearned, like he just got shoved into the main event. It's like it was, with the program with Darby and Cody and stuff, and it's like, they didn't give me a reason to care, but gradually he's getting there. But I think third place is fitting, especially behind obviously John Silver, but obviously Ricky Starks, who originally we were going to have a most underrated award, which was scrapped, but he would have been my number one. I think he's the most underrated wrestler on Dynamite, because he definitely would have won it over John Silver, because John Silver's actually getting the kind of recognition from people. But I still don't hear a lot of people talking about Ricky Starks and how good he is, and a great guy apparently as well in real life. I just think he's the full package. What do you think, Jack, about Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs for that matter?
Yeah, I actually got that nailed on, so I was pretty happy with that. Got Silver top, Starks second, Hobbs third. So pretty happy with that.
Patrick nailed the last one. You nailed this one.
Yeah, no, I'd probably, Ricky Starks. What can I say about Ricky? I like his gimmick. It's quite nice having with Team Taz big hard men, and then he's kind of like the chappy. Sorry. You know what I mean? He's like the cheap chappy. I've read on Reddit a lot of people making comparisons with like younger Undertaker. Not like that, ignore me. No, ignore me.
Leave that in.
Yeah.
Leave that in.
No, younger.
I must have missed Undertaker's like shell necklace fake tan gimmick.
Right. Start again. 3, 2. Yeah, younger The Rock. Dwayne Johnson is what I've seen people make comparisons. Where did I get the Undertaker from?
You're not getting away with that 3-2-1 stuff. That's staying in. I'm insisting.
No, that has to stay in. Definitely, that has to stay. That's a proper love.
I'm the editor. Fuck you.
Oh, go on, leave it.
But no, comparisons to younger Rock, and I just think he's got a bright future. He kind of, he doesn't get as noticed amongst Cage and Hobbs, but him and his feud with Darby, I think, could have been a pay-per-view feud. It never was. It was just, I mean, technically it's still going on.
I know, because I never really. I think that's always been happening. That feud. I don't think it ever begun and ever stopped. It's like time. It's singular. Yeah, they I don't know who he's feuding with, whether it's Brian Cage or Ricky Starks or both. It's a very confusing feud.
It's confusing. But no, we got to thank. I mean, he's one of my nominees for one of the awards. But Cody this year as TNT champ, bringing a lot of these guys in. Eddie, Ricky Starks. Hobbs didn't, did he? But Hobbs as well, great, coming out of nowhere. But no, Cody brought in a lot of new talent, really, through challenging every week on TNT Championship. And Ricky Starks is just one of them. And he's got a bright future, especially with Team Taz. They're starting to look like a legit group now.
They do look legit. And what you said about him being like early Rock, I think he's just waiting, like The Rock was, when The Rock wasn't really getting over, but he had all the talent there. I think he's just waiting for that kind of breakout moment. So even though this was the breakthrough Male of the Year award, I think he's rightfully second. I think he's just waiting for that last kind of bit to get him to just, go to the moon. Quickly,
I just had a thought, actually. Could you imagine, it'd be nice, like a pay-per-view match, triple threat between Darby, Sammy, and Ricky. That'd be I think that'd be a really good, like, dream.
Some great work rate in that match, yeah. Sure. We're on to the big ones now, the big four. And these are the biggest awards of the night. And first up, we have Match of the Year. That's my attempt at a drum roll, which we're going to edit in post anyway, aren't we? And the winner is... Kenny and Hangman versus the Young Bucks at AEW Revolution. 6.25 stars, did you say, Jack?
I will just check for you now.
While you do that, what do you make of that match, Patrick? I mean, I was speechless at points during that match.
Yeah, me too. Because when it came on, I was like, okay. I was just doing some things in between, to be honest, and then I stopped doing what I was doing. I don't know what I was. I think I was just moving the washing away or so, like, while watching it. But then I stopped immediately and just was standing in a room watching like for 20 minutes, and then next day I had to watch it again. Because then I just realized how good it is. When you're not seeing something that's good on first sight, then or you don't get the beauty directly at first sight, then something is really good. It was just my number 2, but it was a close call to my number 1. So I'm super fine, and I love.
We'll
Kenny,
talk about your number 1 in a minute.
Yeah.
Matt Jackson was the low-key MVP of that match, I think, because he always does, especially in these emotionally charged matches, does a lot to set his personality aside from Nick's. Do you know what I mean? Where they're brothers, they look very similar. Some people even think they're twins. I think Jack thought they were twins until he found out they weren't.
They're 7 years apart, aren't they?
Yeah.
Something like this, yeah.
So it can be very easy for people to just like think of them as a singular unit, the Young Bucks. But Matt, he does a lot of storytelling work, and he did in that match. And I think there might have been some spitting go down in that match. This was obviously pre-COVID, it wasn't pre-COVID, but it was pre-lockdown. He just sold it as very bitter. That whole feud, it was a perfect payoff for that feud, and reminds me in a way of how emotionally charged it was of the Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers from Strong Style Evolved. That was, I don't know if you remember, Kenny going for the One-Winged Angel, and I believe Matt Jackson again, and then he couldn't do it because of the how close friends they are, and then Matt puts his arm round his own neck, Kenny's arm around his own neck, and makes him hit it and goes, do it like that. And Yeah, and more of the same in that tag match. I think they I just think they're magic when those guys get together. And Hangman could definitely hang, if you pardon the pun, with the other three. It was great stuff. Shall we look at some runners up? 3 runners up, 4 matches on my card in total. All of them tag matches. So it says a lot about AEW's tag division. 4th place, Young Bucks versus FTR. Obviously the ones where the Young Bucks won the titles recently. Number 3, the Stadium Stampede. And number 2, the Parking Lot Brawl between Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz. What do you make of those awards? Those matches?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, sorry. I'm happy because Stadium Stampede was my number 1. Because of its uniqueness. I've never seen something like this before. They put it completely on the line, like everything, made hilarious things with Matt Hardy switching his characters, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. Chris Jericho going crazy, putting up the thing again on his head on the field, laughing like a witch, doing these crazy things. The finish was crazy. The bar scene was great. Like this was a great cinematic match. Also, it was not a great wrestling match because there was just a few wrestling elements, of course, in it, but it was not a proper match within the squared circle. But it was a great cinematic match, something we haven't seen before, and that's also a good outcome of all the bad things that COVID brought to us, is these cinematic style matches. That this will look brighter in the future.
What you said about it not being a great pure wrestling match, that was probably the wrestling kind of purist in me that kind of put it as 3rd out of out of my top 3. But if we're talking in terms of fun, you'd be hard pushed to do better than the Stadium Stampede. It was such a fun match. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the finish, because that was almost made it on my holy shit moments, because that spot, I mean, God, Sammy gets it bad, doesn't he? Just to refresh people's memories, I believe it was a One-Winged Angel off the bit where the players run out in the stands, down through a table, or a big stack of
a big field of boxes, where they landed in.
Sorry, a quote-unquote table. But regardless of what broke his fall, it was an insane spot. I like that you mentioned the bar scene. That was very funny. I like them just taking a break. It helped break up the pace of the cinematic. And it was great stuff. Just for expediency, we'll ask Jack about a different match. Jack, Parking Lot Brawl, number 2.
I'm so glad you asked me about this one, because I had a lot to say. Obviously, them 4 matches, 3 of which involved the Young Bucks, and that is a nice touch. The reason I like the Parking Lot Brawl, and the reason it should be so high up, and it was a different type of match we've not seen on AEW yet, a parking lot match. So that already was a brand new kind of concept that AEW, well, not brand new, obviously we've seen parking lot matches before, but for AEW it's the first time they've done that.
Yep.
And you guys probably agree, they're big tag teams, Proud and Powerful and Best Friends, but they've not been like main eventers really yet. And
the expectation wasn't there, was it? And I think that was part of it. It was pleasantly surprised because it wasn't a match with the Young Bucks. It wasn't the match with FTR. It was these kind of mid-card teams that we all know are good, but like we weren't expecting like a 5-star match, but that's what was delivered.
No, and it was I like the concept behind the match as well, with Trent's mum Sue, and the whole van thing, and just the whole. It was a great story match as well. It wasn't just a parking lot brawl. You had the 2 teams firstly going at it. OC coming out to help with the finish, and then just
popping up out of the boot.
Yeah, and then just perfect ending where they're driving away, and then Sue just sticks up a middle finger. And
it was fantastic.
It was just great, and it was just it was one of those where face beats heel. You feel like the villain loses, the good guys win. Sue gets the redemption she deserves. The boys, and it was a funny match, but it was serious as well with the parking lot element. And it was just a great match, and for the fact that it was the one that didn't involve Young Bucks, it's so nice to, and not say obviously Young Bucks deserve to be up there. Every match they've had in that top 3 is just insane, but it's just nice seeing, as you said, 2 mid-card teams who can be main eventers doing a main event match and it being so highly rated. And Dave Meltzer, I think, let me just have a look on my little list. I'm pretty sure. Oh, by the way,
I think it was a 5-star match.
Yeah, that was a 5-star match. You did ask as well, the Kenny and Hangman versus Bucks match. That was a 6. Yeah, so I think that's probably their first 5-star match ever, and it was just well deserved.
So, yeah.
It was just unique, and I loved it.
What I find very interesting is that our number 1 match of the year was obviously filmed in front of a crowd. Our number 2 and 3 were both matches where I completely forgot about COVID for a while. Do you know what I mean? Because Parking Lot Brawl, that would have been the same COVID or not. You know, them surrounded by a little crowd of people, but no kind of massive crowd because it was in a parking lot. And Stadium Stampede, it's just they're having a match in an empty stadium. Do you know what I mean? It is not necessarily empty because of COVID. Do you know what I mean? Because they've had empty stadium matches in WWE and stuff before. So, you know, it's interesting to me that our number 1 was before COVID, and our number 2 and 3 were ones that were specifically facilitated by COVID. Do you know what I mean? And they were ones where COVID wasn't kind of a detriment to the match. I just thought it was interesting.
No, that's completely fine. You're finished now. That was fine. I see it completely like that. So, yeah. So, like I said before, something good comes out also of COVID in the wrestling scene, and these matches, these special occasions they had to try also. That was great. And also, like you said very well, made us forget about COVID for at least 20 minutes, or I think Stadium Stampede was like 45 minutes, but yeah.
I think those matches very much kind of confirm wrestling as escapism, you know, for a lot of us. Our third to last, not very good at maths, award, the Tag Team of the Year award. And the winner is... FTR. What do we make of that?
Again.
I'm going to go to Patrick first because he had the more positive reaction there, I think, on webcams.
Yeah, I think no surprise. I think, I'm curious to hear what Jack says about it. Like I said before, for me, FTR, best in the world. Also, the other ones I nominated, or like we're going to get later to the run-ups, but I think we all mentioned the teams before who are in the top 3 now. I think there's nothing to add also to FTR. I'm just looking forward to having more matches with them and clashing with other teams than just the great match they had with the Bucks. Also, every other team on the list and on the roster.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I also voted FTR as top. I think for me, it was more of a fact of Young Bucks. They kind of... It was not a bad year for the Young Bucks. It was not the Young Bucks' best year, and it was... I don't want to say worse, because again, they were in 3 out of 4 of our top 4 matches of the year. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a bad match for the Young Bucks by any means, but, you know, FTR were the ones with the titles. They were having a lot of high-profile matches. They had the stuff where they, their tag team appreciation, where they were defending it every week as well, with their whole tag team rules thing. Young Bucks, just aside from some really fun exhibition matches, and obviously that first match of Revolution, which was at the beginning of the year, they didn't really, between Revolution and Full Gear, was it when they won the titles? They didn't make a big impact for me, and I think they've been quite focused on putting over younger talent from day one, to be honest, because I remember when we were doing sweepstakes with our wrestling WhatsApp group for the tag team tournament match to crown the first tag champions, I called Private Party to go over them, because I was like, they're going to put them over, for sure. I think I correctly called, not to blow my own horn, absolutely to blow my own horn, I correctly called every match in that tournament. Including, like I said, Private Party going over the Young Bucks, and I think they've kept up with that. I remember them putting over Proud and Powerful and all these people with clean pins. And after a certain point, it's like, okay, yeah, but you're devaluing your own brand here, and a lot of people came to see you. Do you know what I mean? You've got to recognise your own worth. And I think they're starting to do that now, and I think that's why 2021 will be their year. I think they've been worried about people calling them kind of biased, EVPs booking themselves to win. Oh, you're no different than Triple H putting the title on himself. They've got to realize something. Those people are gonna shit on AEW no matter what they do. If the Young Bucks put everyone else over, then it's you rave about the Young Bucks. What have they done recently? Do you know what I mean? If they're nothing, they're overrated. If they don't put over other people, they put themselves over, then it's their EVPs booking themselves into a victory. You all complain when Triple H does it, but these. You're always going to get that. So just, I understand AEW are very big on listening to the fans, but sometimes just fuck the fans, and very occasionally, not all the time. That's not a good mantra to have, but in this case.
No, yeah, you know what? I put Young Bucks as first, but after hearing that little rant, I'm not even going to argue a reason for them first. It's like, I put them first, heard your reason, I now get it. So I'm not even going to try and argue that Young Bucks should be first. I think you're right there. Also, naively, I don't know what I was doing when putting this list together. I put Lucha Bros second, which, they're a really good tag team, but they've not really necessarily had the best year. They've not been in it for at least half. So ignore me for them two. FTR were my third.
Yeah, I think. Aside from the fact that FTR weren't really. Did they debut this year, 2020?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from the fact they went in it that last year, but your top two, I think you're about a year behind. I think that was easily, definitely the top two in 2019. Honestly, I think the last 10 years, pretty much, Young Bucks would have won the best team in the world every single year, and I think they have for the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. They've been best team consistently up until this year, and FTR also might have won it. I don't know if they've actually had the awards yet. Actually, I might be talking out my ass, but. I think this is the first year where I wouldn't have given it to Young Bucks in recent memory, and not just in AEW, but in the entire world, because they just have been that good, and they will be that good again. Like they've got plenty career left, and now they've got the titles. They're going to be in a lot of high-profile matches. 2021, I believe, is the year of the Elite, especially with the storylines we've got going on at the moment. Second to last.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you have something more to say about that?
No. I'm just waiting for the women's award now, I guess, right?
Oh, he's anticipating it. Here we go. It is Female Wrestler of the Year, so one of the joint big ones. Ooh. And the winner is... Hikaru Shida. Not a huge surprise because she's a champion, but I would like to contest this. And I realise that I devised this voting system, but I have noticed a flaw in my voting system because of this. Me and Jack both voted for a different wrestler, as on both had the same number ones, and it was not Hikaru Shida. But because Patrick didn't vote for her at all, and we all obviously were going to put Hikaru Shida on ours some way at some point, then the kind of 3 points, 2 points, 1 point system kind of backfired on me a bit. Mine and Jack's number one was Thunder Rosa. And I think the fact that we both rated her number one and that she came number two, runner-up, is kind of a testament to the weakness of AEW's women's division a bit, because I think she might have signed now, but she wasn't even an AEW wrestler for the majority of the year. But yeah, number one, Hikaru Shida, which I suppose is fair, with her being champion. Number two, Thunder Rosa. Number three, Anna Jay. So she did make it into the top three. What do you make of that top three, guys?
Yeah, it's completely fine. I also had Serena Depp in it. Also,
she
is now at AEW, but she's doing. She is the NWA Women's Champion, and not really. I don't consider it really as AEW. They're just wrestling on the show directly. This is what I would consider it, but it's just a testament, right? Like you said that as well as her, but also Thunder Rosa, who was also great in the year, really.
Fantastic.
That they are on the show and killing it, and they are not even part of the official roster. Although Serena Depp is now, but yeah.
I would have put Deep at number 4. Yeah, for sure. It says a lot that you'd rate two women who weren't even working for the company for the majority of the year as top wrestlers. It's a weak division, we know that. We don't have to beat them while they're down. But what would you say to that, Jack, about Hikaru Shida number 1, Thunder Rosa number 2, Anna Jay number 3?
Yeah, makes sense. Obviously, I think we're an AEW podcast.
It does make sense that AEW wrestler won.
Best
and the AEW Women's Champion. Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously I did put Thunder Rosa first, and I just think that's because she's excited me the most in her matches, sort of thing. It's been Hikaru Shida had a strong start. I loved the build up to her being champ. She is a good wrestler. I think she's had a weak end to the year, and that hasn't been helped by the fact with Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa coming in, and they are better wrestlers in my opinion. I've enjoyed their matches more. I've enjoyed their feuds more. They're better talkers. And that's harsh. Yeah, that's harsh to say to Shida. But yeah, I just don't. Yeah, Shida's kind of, and I don't know whether it's because I feel like she's had her time now with the champ. I want to see a new champ. She's kind of losing the effect for me. I used to like watching Shida matches, and now it's kind of... But that's not her fault.
It's not her fault.
Yeah,
I was just about to say, that's exactly what I was about to say. She's had an uninspiring title reign for me.
Yeah.
But looking back, it's purely because of the caliber of opponents. Do you know what I mean? And the times when I did get excited where I thought she might lose it with people like Anna Jay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or people like Abaddon. While I didn't like the match, I was excited for the match because... Abaddon came in with the gimmick, and women that we've mentioned before as having good years are the ones that, added some spice to her title reign. But yeah, they need to fix the division, and it would benefit everyone, even the people who are already good wrestlers like Hikaru Shida. Do you know what I mean? And I just want to come back to a point about her promos. Hikaru Shida does actually have fantastic English, but I don't think they utilise her promos a lot. So I don't know whether that's a conscious choice or Hikaru Shida worthy winner, Patrick.
Yeah, for me, because she's the champ also, but also she was able to, especially the match with Nyla Rose, that she carried her through the match a lot.
Yes.
Mostly, really. Yeah, that was also for me a point. Yeah, that was really good. It was mostly because of Shida, because she's able to do that. She couldn't do it now with Abaddon, but I think it was booked a little bit also like this, how the match was, that she was supposed to be bitten and so, but she's really, really good wrestler, well-gifted wrestler, but like you said before, these wrestlers we just mentioned, that's just about it almost, in the division, and that's very, very sad. Especially when you have somebody like Kenny Omega in charge, or seemingly in charge. And then, they're not utilizing the talent. They don't have enough talent. They have to have talent from another promotion, which are even better. And like you also said in our first episode, that a cooperation with Impact makes sense in case of the women's wrestling division. If they could join forces there, they need to do something on the women's division. And what I find also, that's also for me, if there would have been the most underutilized, you said the most underutilized, it wouldn't be wrestler, it would be just the women's division in general.
Division as a whole,
because I could do that as a collective, because this is so sad. Reminds me actually of the not the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression era of WWE, where the women just had one match or so on the card, sometimes Brian Panty's match or so, stupid stuff, but here also just one match. You and me also made the joke always, second match is a random women's match this week again, we can go to the toilet. There was always, you weren't, there was no storyline in it, you were not into it, there was no build up to this. This week is this match, this week is this match. As you said also before, guys, then a heel commercial was on the bottom on the screen where they promoted, and that's just it, 20 minutes out of 90 minutes, not even 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes women's. That's way too less. And they also need women's tag team title or anything like that. They made the tournament, they should do something with that,
I don't think the design of the title helps. I think it's hideous. I don't know about you guys. The design of the women's title.
It's too small. It's too much like a Joshi belt.
Yeah, it's again, which works in Joshi because they're of a smaller build. A lot of them, but when they put it on Nyla Rose, it's just you look like you're wearing a toy. Do you know what I mean? It's and the shape, the opal shape, and it's it doesn't scream equality. So you look at WWE, exactly. And the one thing they do right is the women's division. I think they've produced some big stars out of that. I mean, the Sports Illustrated top 10 we were talking about today, when I talked about Eddie Kingston coming number 10, Sasha Banks came number 1 on that. So I think Bayley came around
and completely deserved, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Their match, I don't watch WWE. I watch Sasha Banks versus Bayley at Hell in a Cell. Like, I subscribed to the WWE Network partially just to watch that match because I was excited about it, and I think Pro Wrestling Illustrated, I think Bayley came number 1 on that, and in the women's 100, and Sasha came like 4 or 6 or something. But Impact. They need to bring the Impact girls in, and it's a mutually beneficial thing because then they get the exposure they might not otherwise have. They get to wrestle in front of mini crowds. So I don't know how that works with coming across from one state to another. I've been wondering about this with the Good Brothers, whether they have to like quarantine for 2 weeks or something. Like, do they have to then? Can they not appear on Impact for a couple of weeks before because they're quarantined and ready to go on, like, or when they go back? I really don't know how it works, but going between state lines because they all have their own rules and traveling between states. One that's got strict COVID rules and one that's not. So we'll see. It probably doesn't help matters, but we shall see. Are we ready for the number 1, the last award?
Yes.
Male Wrestler of the Year. Look lively, Jack. Look a little excited. And the winner is... Hangman Adam Page. I think this is deserved, but I think he's had to fight for this, and I think that AEW, the people making the decisions about his gimmick and the direction of his storyline could have pulled the trigger on it a lot sooner than they have. I feel like they've not fully done so, but congratulations to him. I mean, Cody Rhodes came second, just as an FYI, probably largely but due to his phenomenal kind of TNT title, promotion of the title and his matches with Brody Lee. Come to Jack first. What do you make of Hangman Adam Page as our winner and Cody Rhodes as our runner-up?
Yes, I didn't put Hangman down for any of my nominations. I think his year is going to be this year, 2021.
Yeah.
I think he's had a good year. Obviously, you can't. He's been tag champ for large majority. I think the longest tag champ so far. And he's had a great year. But I put Brody Lee number 1, but that was more. He has had a great
sentimental.
Year. Yeah, sentimental. Which I did think you guys were going to follow suit, but you haven't. So that's just the more honourable guy. I put Mox second because
Jack's just over here like, you guys don't want to honour a dead guy, but okay. Guess I'm the only one with moral fibre. Number 2.
I just thought it would have been a nice touch podcast. The last award, Wrestler of the Year. Oh, it's Brody. Oh, lovely. But that's not the way this has gone.
No, we did not get that memo.
I put Mox second. He's been the world champ the pretty much the whole year. And I thought he had a great reign, and he was the people's champ. And I just think you had to on that. And I put Cody third because of the work, like you said, he did with TNT Championship and putting people over. But Hangman, because obviously he won. Let's talk about Hangman. Great wrestler. He's got. I was about to say he's got a great future. He's not just got a great future. He's had a great present and past. He's a great wrestler, and everyone recognises that in AEW. And he will be world champ next. I'm pretty sure of that. But yeah, I think the reason I didn't put him was, because I think 2021 is going to be more his year. Now this storyline with Dark Order's coming through. I think he's going to join them. I think we all know that, he's going to... We hope he's going to be the one to, break out of the one-winged angel when his next match with Kenny's going to be, and that's going to be a significant moment.
That would be great. Yeah, so that would be great. Put him over directly.
That's it. And I just think in 365 days' time, when we're doing this again...
he'll be number 1 again.
Yeah, he'll be number 1 again. But I get you guys putting him.
I assume Patrick put him as number 2 or number 3 because I think we all put...
I put him as number 2,
Yeah, we all put very different wrestlers aside from that, which I think is why he's kind of managed to get top without being on Jack's list, and only being number one on one of us, which was mine. I think he's the guy. Do you know what I mean? I really do. I think Kenny Omega's had a bit of a lackluster year. I think Kenny's the guy right now, but I think I don't know. Jon Moxley's title reign was while he's a great brawler, it lacked something for me, and I think that was mainly due to the crowd, not being there. John is a man of the people. He'd come through the crowd entrance, and you just took a lot away from him when you took away the crowd, because, as you said, he was the people's champ. He was very much, a people's champion. And the styles of matches he had, they benefited from a live crowd. And I think we'd be talking about John Moxley right now if there'd been a crowd, honestly, because I think his matches would have translated better for TV with a crowd. But I put MJF as number 2. I thought he was fantastic. I loved. I mean, it goes hand in hand with him being one of my ones for the gimmick. MJF 2020. Thought he had I think the out of ring stuff he's done with Chris Jericho has been gold, as well as his match with Mox was my favourite Mox match of the year, just because of the storytelling in it. And maybe aside from the one where he won the title at the very beginning of the year, it's hard to remember that Jericho was actually champion this year in 2020. Last year. But and I had Cody as my 3rd, so that's why Cody's crept on number 2. Patrick, would you like to go over a couple of your decisions and justify them for us all?
Yeah, mine is Kenny because I love Kenny, but that's just not the only reason for this personal choice. But also, I still think he is in ring the best, and I look more onto in-ring style. I was also thinking about MJF or something or even Cody is not in my list because Cody is, for me, sorry Cody, not the best in the ring. He does great promos, he does tell great stories with the matches. His technique is not the best for me, but for me Kenny is number 1. Adam Page closely behind it because I love Adam Page already in New Japan, being not a massive guy, but really a little heavier guy and still pulling up these moves, standing moonsaults and shit like that. Sorry, peep it out. And
no, we're not going to bleep. We're just going to bleep the first one to be funny because I asked for it to be bleeped. But leave them on and just put an explicit tag on. Fuck me, fuck.
Great. So no, and these were my first 2, and then came the 3rd one, which I just did maybe to provocate a little bit, but for me, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, full name given by JR. Now he was the guy with the most matches of the whole year. He wrestled on the most matches.
Is that
He's
true?
Also, he wrestled 50 or so, or more than 50. Wasn't around the count. And
it's kind of like Joey Janela the other year. Was it Joey Janela? No, it wasn't Joey Janela. It was Matt Riddle. Before the year, it might have been the year he signed for WWE, or the year before. Well, the year leading up. Anyway, he was Matt Riddle wrestled an insane amount of matches on the indie circuit, and obviously doing Bloodsport as well before Josh Barnett took over. And these guys, you can tell as well, Matt Riddle's an incredible wrestler, and I think Jungle Boy, again, is, you can tell that having regular matches is really beneficial, and he's come a long way. And I probably could have, if I'd thought about it, might have considered Jungle Boy for most improved, and I think the only reason I didn't was because he was already great. The same reason I wouldn't have put Butcher, because he was already good, but he has gotten better. He has... very good wrestler.
Yeah,
very athletic guy.
Jungle Boy was also no breakout star because he was already an established guy. But the future also looks really good.
Yeah, him and
Having
MJF.
Him also there. Yeah, MJF, Sammy, Darby. These people, all these young people, and Ricky Starks also. Will Hobbs. We could go count on. I think this is the nice thing. Just to wrap it up, maybe a little bit. Also, this is also a nice thing to see. They're established wrestlers. They're bringing in Sting, and I just hope they're using Sting or utilizing him to benefit. In this case, maybe Darby, and to bring Darby a little bit more over or strengthen his character, whatever they're doing with it. But this is the way they should do it, and not the Stamford, Connecticut thing again, bringing Goldberg back into the game and just upsetting everyone with just really not building new stars or anything, just using the old ones to make a box office draw. So
I completely agree and concur with everything you said. You know why JR insists on calling him Jack Perry against Device? It's because he said one day this guy's going to be 36 years old. Do you know what I mean? And we can't be calling him Jungle Boy at that point. You know, he's JR's anticipating at some point he's going to have that breakthrough moment where he stops becoming a boy and he becomes a man, but you can't exactly, it'd be too corny to call him Jungle Man, you know. So he said at some point he's going to start using his
Jack
real
of the
name.
Jungle.
I want people to know it when that time comes. You know what I mean? When he wants to be Jack Perry and not, which is fair enough. I mean, he does take it on himself to give people the names he wants a lot, like Willie Hobbs. No one's called him Willie on on TV before, but JR just decided his name should be Willie Hobbs, and Will Hobbs was actually okay with it. He went to Twitter and said, "My mum calls me Willie, and if it's good enough for her, and if JR says it's good enough, then it's good enough." But I don't know, maybe that was conspiracy theory time. It might have been part of the reason behind the name change was to Powerhouse Hobbs, was just to get JR to stop calling him Willie Hobbs because it was hurting him a bit. But yeah. Congratulations to Hangman Page and all our winners. I think big winners wise, Eddie Kingston winning 2 awards, and Anna Jay I think featured on 3, even though she only won 1 of them. But breakout female of the year. I think she was third place. Was she third place on female of the year? All the ones she was eligible for, essentially. Most improved. Most improved,
breakout, and best of the year.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good year for AEW.
Good year for AEW. Very good year for AEW. As I said, I think they've done one of the best out of all the promotions. And here's to a even better 2021, hopefully with crowds at some point. Well, bigger crowds at some point.
Right. And hopefully also, that was the most downturn, not the most, but one of the biggest things downturner for me when they said, Fighter Fest will be this and this weekend. And then they said, we actually was planned to have it in the UK, and this would have been the occasion where we all have met and got there. So but okay, that's something they thought about it. They already had a plan to go there, and that's just great to see that on the horizon coming.
We'll tell you what we'll do if we're still going. That will be our aim, to be still going when they come to UK, and then we'll have a man on the street outside trying to get interviews for the podcast.
Patrick can do that. I'll be at the bar.
I was literally just about to say I think it should be Patrick, but you I could have saved you the embarrassment by not saying that, couldn't I?
I'll be having a beer with Hangman.
Yeah. Oh, I think he's more of a whiskey drinker.
I drink whiskey.
You can have a milk with Kenny. How about that?
That's fine as well.
That's that then, I suppose.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us for another riveting episode, although it's not an official episode, and we should have episode 2 up soon, which will really be part 2, won't it? Because we've had New Year's Smash Night 1, New Year's Smash Night 2 coming soon, and they'll probably be uploaded around the same time along with this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack.
Also to Jack. Thanks to the listeners. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did. And
yeah, you can do the sign off if you like.
Oh no, I don't want to. You got the honor.
I don't have a catchphrase yet.
We need a catchphrase.
Do Kenny's.
I was going to do Rick from Rick and Morty's, and that's the way the news goes. Kenny's goodbye and good night. Bang.